Welcome back, folks, to the Movie NP, the vlog where I review films and give you the success tips that we can learn from those films. Tonight, folks, I'm going to do something special and different. A few of you had asked me to do a Christmas-specific episode, so instead of doing one particular film, I went ahead and picked 12 of the top Christmas movies. See what I did there? 12 Days Christmas, 12 Christmas movies. And we're going to review one success tip from each film. So I'm going to count backwards from 12 to 1, with the last one being the number one Christmas movie of all time, as what I could put together based on the internet and various websites that I've seen that list this movie as number one. So we'll get to that, but first and foremost, let's start with number 12. So number 12 is White Christmas, with the success tip here is to honor the people who have helped you grow. Here's why it matters. Gratitude builds loyalty, humility, and genuine community. In the film, we see Bob and Phil decide to help the general who mentored them during the war. This, of course, being the big hook of the film and the final finale. I do believe that we need to honor those that have helped us to become successful, helped us through those hard times, because ultimately, none of us do it alone. We all need each other, we all need community, and we need the support of others around us. And the quote that goes along with this is from Cicero: "Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others." Number 11 is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Rankin and Bass version. This is one of my all-time favorites, and I'm sure many of yours. The success tip here is, when you don't fit in, create a new path. Why is it important? Because innovation comes from refusing to follow broken systems or rules that weren't designed for you. Hermie rejects elf life and pursues dentistry, choosing passion over tradition. And although this is initially difficult, by the end of the film, we learn that Hermes is one of the heroes. It's his knowledge of dentistry that allows him to pull the teeth of the bumble, taming the wild beast, and becoming the hero of the story, or at least one of the heroes of the story. Also, at the end, we find out that he's successful as a dentist because he actually has people making appointments with him and lining up to get their teeth worked on. And here's the quote that illustrates this from Coco Chanel: "The most courageous acts is still to think for yourself aloud." Number 10 is Bad Santa. Yes, I know, I was shocked to find this on the list of the top 12 Christmas films, but it is. And the success tip here is avoid the people who profit from your dysfunction. Why this matters is because we often get sucked down into toxic relationships. And toxic relationships reinforce self-destruction. In the film, we see how Marcus exploits Willie for criminal gain. And here's an excellent quote from Jim Rohn that illustrates this, that states, "You are the average of 5 people you spend the most time with." And this is so true. I've spoke about this several times. The idea here is that it is said time and time again that if you hang out with 4 millionaires, soon after, you will become the 5th one. And number 9 is The Polar Express, another big favorite of mine. And the success tip here is that belief shapes experience. Here's why this matters. What we believe influences what we see, feel, and achieve. I can't talk enough about this. We see this in other films such as The Matrix. That's a huge one. But in reality, we see this play out several different ways. I practice hypnosis, and one of the things that you learn through hypnosis is that reality truly is plastic. You can change someone's beliefs, you can examine them, take them out, twist them around, put them back in. It's a very interesting concept, and truly what people believe becomes their reality. And more science has been confirming this, particularly in the field of quantum physics. And in the film, what we see is the boy cannot hear the bell until he believes that Santa is real. And here's a quote from Buddha that states, "What we think we become. Number 8 is the nightmare before Christmas. The success tip here is beware of outsourcing your power to the wrong people. Here's why this matters. Delegating to manipulators sabotages progress. We see this in the film when Jack delegates the Christmas mission over to the Oogie Boogie's boys. Of course, instead of following Jack's directions of capturing Santa Claus and keeping him safe, they, of course, turn him over to Oogie Boogie, which causes chaos and turmoil. I find it's particularly true in business. I witnessed this time and time again. About 10 years ago, you see a lot of this happening where companies believe that they could save some money by outsourcing part of their business to someone else. I saw it in the ERs where they're, instead of being hospital employees, they're contracting a service to come in to run the ER for them. I've seen this where huge resorts have outsourced their valet parking to third-party companies. I've seen huge companies outsource their transportation needs to a third-party company. And here's the problem and risk with doing that. To the end user or the end customer, they do not see that contracted service as a separate entity. They look at that contracted service as part of your organization. So that causes two problems for us. First problem is if that contracted service are nasty, if they can't keep it together, if they screw up, what happens is the customer blames you, not the contracted service, for the screw up. The second problem with this is because they're a contracted service, you do not have direct control of those employees. So even if you wanted to fix it by swapping out employees, hiring, firing, doing some type of training, you can't do that because they're not your own employees. They're this third-party organization. So now you're stuck with it. And most of the time, these large organizations will contract for a certain amount of time. So now when it turns bad, it's either you break the contract and suffer the legal consequences, or now you deal with it and you're stuck with it and your customer service continues to go down the drain. So in short, be very, very careful of who you delegate to. And here's a quote from Plato that states, "He who trusts everyone is a fool. He who trusts no one is a fool." This also reminds me of the quote that I believe came from Ronald Reagan that states, "Trust but verify." Number 7 is Elf. Now, I know a lot of you out there love this film. Me, not so much, but that's okay. The success tip here is a very, very good one. Believe in others before they believe in themselves. Why does this matter? Because people rise to the expectations of those who invest in them. In the movie, Buddy encourages Michael to help save Christmas. And there's several real-world examples of this. The one that I can think of right off the top of my head is Walt Disney and Bob Gurr. Bob Gurr has been interviewed and he's made statements about this. Whereas he initially started out as an animator, and then one day Walt sent him over to Disneyland to help construct a ride or design a ride. I think it was Autotopia. But in any event, the key here is that Bob Gurr only saw himself as an animator. He didn't see himself as an Imagineer, but Walt was somehow gifted with seeing the potential of others before they saw it themselves. And Walt would put these people in these positions and they would flourish. And this is an excellent example of that. You as a leader need to look at your people and see the potential of them and build those skills that they need to be successful, because through their success comes your success. And here's an anonymous quote that illustrates that very well. A good leader inspires others with confidence in themselves. And number 6 is The Christmas Story. Another huge favorite. The success tip here is a little recklessness is part of growing up. Why this matters is because risk shapes confidence and identity. We see this in several parts of the film. We see this with Ralphie putting the ad for the BB gun in his mother's magazine, hoping that she'll see it. We see this in Ralphie telling his stories, hoping that he'll get the point through and that they'll buy the BB gun for him. We see this with Ralphie fighting the bully. And ultimately, we see this at the end of the film when Ralphie finally gets his BB gun, and out of excitement, he rushes out without safety precautions and almost shoots his eye out. And in recent years, there's been several professionals that have spoken out to this regard. The era of overprotection is preventing kids from becoming independent and growing. Temple Grandin talks about how these kids need to be given tasks and jobs so that they can learn independence, and oftentimes parents will overprotect their children, and in doing so, again, they don't grow, they don't learn. There's also a very interesting book that's hit the market titled The Coddling of the American Mind by Greg Lukianoff and Jonathan Haidt, and this very much speaks the same thing. If we do not take risks, we don't grow. We all need to take a little risk in life for growth. It's stepping out of those comfort zones that causes growth. And without a little bit of risk, our growth becomes stunted. Risk is required for success. And here's a quote from Helen Keller: "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all." Number 5 is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. The success tip here is be resourceful and don't wait for perfect conditions or perfection. Here's why this matters. Action creates success. Waiting around just kills it. And unfortunately, we see this happen time and time again, where people wait for the perfect conditions and opportunities pass them by. They wait for the perfect time to ask for that promotion. They ask for the perfect time to ask for that raise. They wait for the perfect time and the perfect conditions to start that business they've always wanted to start. And ultimately, this stunts their growth and kills their success. We see this play out in the film when the original Griswold Christmas tree burns down. Clark realizes they need a Christmas tree to make the Christmas holiday. So rather than waiting around, he goes out to the front yard, grabs his chainsaw, and decides to cut down another tree, and voila, he cuts down a tree from the front yard and puts it up, and Christmas is saved, and the Griswolds have a new Christmas tree. And here's a great quote by Theodore Roosevelt that states, "Do what you can with what you have." Number 4, Die Hard. Yes, folks, this is a Christmas movie. The success tip here is to stay calm in chaos. Why this matters is that clarity under pressure becomes a superpower. And this is why we train and practice. We train and practice things like codes, CPR. Police are always doing drills and training. The military is always doing drills and training. Because when you practice, you can always go into a situation calm, collected, and everything goes on automatic pilot. And in the film, we see John McClane use humor to remain calm. There's one particular moment where he says, "Come on out to the coast. We'll get together, have a few laughs." He uses this humor to remain calm and to get through the crisis. And here's a quote from Albert Einstein that states, "In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity." And number 3 is It's a Wonderful Life. Of all the movies listed here, this is probably my favorite. And I'd love to do a whole episode just on this, but we'll keep it down to the one success tip. The success tip here is to protect your integrity at all costs. Here's why that's important. Doing the right thing pays dividends money can't touch. And we see this play out time and time again in the film, where George does the right thing. We see this where he refuses to deliver the medication, knowing that Mr. Gower accidentally put poison in there. We see this play out when he decides to stay home from college. does not follow his dream and instead stays home to run the savings and loan when his father dies, knowing if he doesn't, Mr. Potter will take over the town and run things. And we see this play out in the Great Depression and the bank run, where he forgoes his own honeymoon and takes his own money to keep the savings and loan open and to keep the townspeople afloat. And although George does not see this or realize it, all of this that he does, all of this selflessness he does, builds up interest and comes back to him at the end of the film in dividends. And here's a quote by Gandhi that states, "In a gentle way, you can shake the world." And we're getting down to the last couple films here, with number 2 being Home Alone. The life lesson here is to learn to think like your opponent. Why this matters is because empathy and strategy are competitive edges in business and life. We see this play out in the film when Kevin predicts when the wet bandits are going to come back. He also predicts what entrance they're going to use for the home. And there's actually a scene where he strategizes all this, making a map with all the booby traps and how he's going to capture the wet bandits. And here's a quote by Michael Porter that states, "Strategy is about making choices, trade-offs. It's about deliberately choosing to be different." And the number 1 Christmas movie as per the internet, drum roll please. And the number 1 movie is Miracle on 34th Street, the original 1947 version. And the success tip here is don't accept limiting beliefs from others. And why this matters is because, unfortunately, many of our self-limits are inherited from others and not discovered within ourselves. We see this in the film where Susan's growth begins when she questions what she's been taught to believe. And the quote I picked out here is probably one of the most important quotes I've ever read. And the quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson that states, "The only person you are destined to become is the person that you decide to be." Well, that's it for tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you did learn something that can help you along. Please click like, subscribe. Please share this with a friend. And Merry Christmas to you. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is you celebrate. I hope it's a happy and healthy one. And I hope you have a very happy and prosperous new year. And we'll see you all real soon. Have a good night.